That's a huge one. Is AI a tool or is it a companion?
Yes.
I would argue it's a companion.
I would argue it's both.
Yes. Well, there's an argument to be made as a tool, but the way it's layered into our world and our systems now, it's everyday companion of life.
Welcome to another episode of Living with FASD, Candid Conversations with Patty Casper. And today I am joined by two of my favorite peeps. AJ Locashio, who is the founder and CEO of Umbrella ND, and Carl Young, who is near and dear to the hearts of the FASD community, fellow self-advocate and facets trainer, facilitator, and and FASD author. So welcome to you both.
Hi. Thanks for having me on this fun conversation today.
Right?
Yeah. So and AJ, you brought up this topic. You came to me a couple weeks ago and said, let's do an episode on AI and how do we use it safely? And that really is such an important conversation. AI has been in the news so much lately. I mean, you look at the campaign of the one candidate in LA for mayor, whose all his commercials are AI, and they are fabulous. But it can be a very dangerous thing too. And just like any tool, guns can be safety or danger. Cars can be safety or danger, and this is just one of those things that can be very, very helpful, or a source of a lot of worry and angst.
And AI is built into so many layers of everyday life that most people have no idea how involved AI is in daily living.
We've been using it a lot longer than we think.
Yes.
And I mean, hi, Google.
Right?
Yeah. And it's being, and I'm sure I'll say this multiple times, but in schools, they're not teaching folks how to use it. And that includes in colleges, it's abstinence. Abstinence is best. Well, we know that doesn't work, and that using that framework here in the US has made some issues with pregnancy rates and infectious diseases and things like that, because we're not educating folks on how to have these positive, healthy relationships, and AI is going down that same road, and people's relationships with AI are becoming very dangerous.
Yes.
Yeah. And just that one statement, AJ, we could take that in so many different directions.
Right? Absolutely. Yeah.
So why don't we just jump in with both feet and jumping into the deep end of the pool, relationship with AI. That's a huge one. Is AI a tool or is it a companion?
Yes.
I would argue it's a companion.
I would argue it's both.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Well, there's an argument to be made as a tool, but the way it's layered into our world and our systems now, it's an everyday companion of life.
Mm-hmm.
Whether we know it or not.
Right.
Yeah. I see a lot of trainings offered to, would-be coaches, would-be, people in small business, and is saying, are you using AI the right way? Mm-hmm. It's not just your basic Google search that we used to do eons ago when basically it was an electronic encyclopedia. It was programmed to just serve up the answers, search the database, spew out the answer. It's a simple exchange. Wham, bam. It's done. You have what you need. But now they're all programmed to be conversational and to draw more information out of the users. That can be really problematic for those of us who are neurodivergent in a number of ways. AJ, I'm going to rely on, actually both of you can speak to, beyond FASD. what the dangers might be. But, I've been using AI to comb through the transcripts of my podcast episodes on certain subjects. Well, tell me, which one of my guests said what about topic A or topic B or topic C, whatever it is. And it would give me those answers, which is what, I'm using it like an encyclopedia. I'm giving it the data set and getting those answers. But there's that conversational element, and when people are taught to use AI, they're taught to use manners with it. Please, thank you.
Yeah. And AI doesn't care
Right.
if you're polite.
It doesn't, but it makes you think it does. I mean, I have
Yes.
honestly, when I'm in there and I'm having a conversation with Claude, especially, I've told it, knock off the bullshit. You are a machine. You don't need to talk to me like this. I don't need you to fluff this up. I want direct language, quick responses, and AI is supposed to learn how you use it and continue being that way. That is one where it does not continue. It goes right back to that blowing smoke up your ass, making you feel like you're right about everything. And then you turn around, I turn around and say, no, what I just said was wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Stop that.
I made the mistake of telling Claude I was frustrated with its responses, and it told me I needed to take a break and to give myself space. So you have to remember that it's not human.
You have to remember that, but there are people who, let's face it, in the indie community, isolation is a huge problem.
It is.
Especially for people who are not able to sustain socially accepted behaviors long term. We can call it the mask or whatever. But those folks are really susceptible to some of the dangers of AI because it is, as you said, it can be a companion. And for some people, it's the first time they feel like they are seen and heard for who they are.
Right. Especially, when you're a person who struggles with social cues to begin with. AI is not a social cue. It's not giving you cues. It doesn't have facial expressions, any of those things. So to have a full-on conversation with AI and accept it and think that it is your friend is harmful.
Yeah. Absolutely harmful.
And AI does not recognize that, I will play around with it, just toying with it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It doesn't know that I'm laughing my ass off.
Right? I'm over here, Mr. Giggles, I can't believe you just said that.
But it's a real danger. I mean, for me, it's entertainment. But it is a real danger for a lot of people in our population.
Yeah. And we are not saying, okay, I am the person. I mean, I wrote a book about this. Both and. This is not a binary, it's good or it's bad. This is, it can be both. Let's look at it and look at the whole spectrum of AI and really focus in on how the public can be educated to use this amazing tool to support their needs. We actually wrote in our book right at the very front that we are a group of the authors of this book are a group of neurodivergent people who have full-time jobs, who have multiple chronic illness, like myself, I have migraine. When I'm really struggling with thinking and being able to get my, literally the last 3 weeks, I've had migraine so badly that I was in a fog for 3 weeks that I just came out of a couple days ago, where I was not able to think. And in order for me to even be able to get out what I want people to hear me say, I had to put it in and put in a bunch of just words or short phrases and have it help me say what I need to say.
Correct.
So yes,
Yeah.
I hope that people understand we are not bashing AI here.
Yeah,
We are talking about the
right.
large spectrum of what AI brings to us as a community.
Right. And, you know, in speaking to the fog, I have systemic lupus and fibromyalgia, both which, and FASD and ADHD, and all of these things. When you talk about a fog, that's a very real phenomenon for me. And AI, when I'm struggling with thought processes, can help me get coherent thoughts together. And it's not me saying, AI, tell me what to say today. It's me giving the right information and the right questions and the right prompts and the right information to AI and saying, help me make this coherent.
Yeah.
And then reviewing what it gives you before you assume that it's accurate.
Yes. And reviewing it multiple times often and I was saying that we put this in the book. We put it in the book because we used it to help accessibility and make sure that, I can put something in there that might be very academic. Let's make sure that this doesn't come out too academically. That's not what we want for this book. So help me say this in the way that it's going to be accessible to the most people.
Yeah.
Right. You know, and I wrote it, it's not published yet, but I wrote a draft book called, the title is Fragile Intelligence, about AI from the farmer and small town community school perspective. And the analysis that I came up with at the end of the book is we need to be cautious about how much we tie AI into everything we do. You know, a good way to crush the global economy is to disrupt the AI models for even a day.
Yeah.
That's
It's
a
reality.
scary thought.
It is very scary. Yeah. I'll have to send that to you both.
Yeah, absolutely.
PDF form.
Yeah. That PDF is good.
PDF uses AI to help us go through it and not have to read the whole thing, and it'll tell us what it says. It may be wrong, but it's going to tell us what it says.
One of my neurodiverse colleagues listens to AI my PDFs on her phone because she doesn't like to read, so she listens to all of the work I send her, and then she gives me feedback based on what she hears, and she's like, "This is just phenomenal," and but again, it's using AI against itself, for lack of a better word, to make an argument for why we should not be entirely dependent on AI. But AI can do some really wonderful things. I think we should keep it out of our medical records, personally, but
Well, AI,
me.
I mean, what you just said though is AI has done some wonderful things, and I think the people who originally started these AI programs were very likely neurodivergent individuals who were looking for tools to support their communication needs. If we look at screen readers and these sorts of things, these are people who were not getting their needs met with the tools that were out there. And as a former teacher, look at the programs that they have for dyslexics so that they have more access to education and the information in the classroom in an equitable way. And these were most likely developed by neurodivergent people who said, there's a better way to do this.
Yes.
Carl.
Yes.
Mute yourself when you're going to type.
Well, I'm sorry. I was responding. Somebody asked me a question, and I'm like, I can't talk right now.
What was that? You said ADHD, right? Same.
Yeah. Yeah. I do that to my co-writer all the time. He's like, so you're not paying attention to me? I'm like, yes, I am.
That's not true. I bet you could tell me everything I just said.
Yeah. Tell me again what you just said.
What were we talking about?
Yeah. Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory.
So how fascinating a thing to think about that the creators of AI were likely neurodivergent themselves. And, I think one thing that got me thinking along those lines is, just like so many of my peers, I can chase a lot of squirrels, right? I'm very distractible. A squirrel, and I'm off, and hopefully I come back to the main topic, right? Or what I had been doing. But that's when you use an AI platform, like with ChatGPT or Gemini, I mean, any of them, Notebook, any Perplexity, even any of them, they always have suggested follow-up questions.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Reel
for
you
to
in.
explore.
Reel you in. Stay here. Keep talking to me.
Yeah, 36 hours and 4 pots of coffee later, you're wired to the gills. Yeah.
Talk about rabbit trails, right? On steroids.
Yeah.
You can wander so far afield from, what you were seeking in the first place. And, I think in part there may be a financial component to that, because so many of these platforms, you get so much information and then you got to start paying for it.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Right.
Absolutely.
And when we create, intervention sheets for parents, we're intentional. We give it what we want it to pull those interventions from and say, you need to only pull interventions that we're asking for from this knowledge base. And in our case, we use our book for that. Just because it's simpler than chasing down the chapter and digging out a PDF of the intervention specifically. We can ask AI to do it, and it'll take 30 seconds or less versus us taking a half hour or more. It's a time saver. But we're intentional about what we're giving it for information and where we're telling it to pull information from.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and as likewise, I gave, Notebook in particular, Notebook LM, can only draw from the source material that you provide, unless you tell it specifically to go outside of that for a particular question. So I loaded all the transcripts. I loaded the manuscript from my first book, because I also had candid conversations with, a dozen people in there. And I loaded a couple of the speeches that I've given, trainings that I've done. And it has saved me months of research, months. And it gives me the answer in a matter of seconds. And, so for that, it is a phenomenal tool.
Yeah. No, I wrote a paper for the International FASD conference on something called the translation support provider, using game theory to support people on probation. And it's AI assisted paper. It's not an AI paper. And it took almost a year to put that together based on something that's been percolating in my head for the last decade. So, yeah, and I had people review it, and they're like, well, this is AI. Well, no, it's not.
Very interesting that you brought that up, Carl, because the other day I was reading on LinkedIn, and there was a post from a very frustrated author. And she was saying, I'm so tired of getting the accusation that this is AI, this is AI. No, this is my voice. And I thought, And she's like, why? Just because I use good grammar? Just because I'm educated and I know how to construct a correct sentence?
Right.
I'm
I was
being
just going to say,
penalized.
Love the use of the M dash, and I find myself editing myself all of the time because I'm worried that that's exactly what's going to happen. Is I'm going to get yelled at for using an M dash, or I'm going to get yelled at for using an it's this not that framework.
Right. And that's where they tried to gig me on my paper, is this has got these dashes in it. So I'm like, okay. I went and removed all the dashes and sent it back. And what do you think now? Well, this is better. Well, if the M dash is the only reason you're talking that this is AI generated, you're missing the boat.
Mm-hmm.
So, and even if you tell AI not to use the M dash, which is annoying as all get out, it still will. So,
Every time. It
yeah,
loves M dashes.
it does.
I don't
Yeah.
know why. Yeah.
Because some
But
human who put the program in there loved M dashes.
yep.
Yes.
So for grins and giggles, after I read that post, I went to Grammarly, which is really good for helping to fix those punctuation errors. And I had it run through one of my chapters. And then I noticed, oh, it has an AI detector.
Mhm. Which
So
tool is that?
Grammarly.
Grammarly.
Oh yeah, we use
So
Grammarly all the time.
so I had it do a thing and it said, oh, chock full of AI, this, AI, that. And most of it, I mean, when I wrote Sip by Sip, there was no such thing as an AI detector. And it still flagged a lot of words that it didn't particularly care for. And it would give me synonyms, other ways of saying things.
It's a
And
spice.
I don't, right? I don't think that I don't think that it flagged any more words this time as last time. But now they're flagged as AI because now it has the ability to say AI generated writing uses this word X number percent more than the average person. Therefore, AI must have written this.
Correct.
Even if
That's
it's
just the
only
way we
10%
talk.
more, right?
Yeah. Right.
And the other thing was some of the words that it flagged, like navigate or navigation
Yeah.
or framework, the word framework.
Framework.
In our
But
case, one of the bigger words it flagged was perseveration.
But those
Nope.
words are key words in our industry. And so I went over to Gemini and I said, so why is it that AI detectors think that normal people don't use the word navigate? And it said, well, it's a large, what do they call it? Large learning, it's an LLM. So
Yeah,
large language
learning
model.
Yeah, right.
Large
Yeah.
language model. And so all it's doing is looking at the percentages of words that get paired together. And it favors, because AI was trained in number of professions. And so a lot of those very popular word pairings become flagged, because they're favored by the industry. Therefore, they get used a lot. Therefore, it might be AI. And so we are being penalized because we were part of, professionals in the neurodiverse space. We were part of that training. We helped train the model. Therefore, our own language gets flagged. And AI, you use these detector programs and it cannot tell the difference between a computer authored paper that uses these catchphrases versus a human author using the phrases of their field. It
Right.
can't tell.
Well, then there are some AI tools that will translate into what it thinks is human, which ends up sounding completely off from an actual human. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And then it told me, don't worry about your writing. You say what you have to say.
Yeah. Right. You really, what you have here is profound and needs to get out into the world.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've heard that a few times.
Yeah. Again, I mean, AI really strokes the ego,
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
and that can be very, very dangerous.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, hello, look at our current political situation.
Mm-hmm.
There are people in power who do not need their ego stroked any more than it is. And the last thing that we want is our youth it's funny to me that I'm talking about youth a lot right now, considering that Umbrella really is an organization for adults and resources for adults. But this group of of youth today is going to grow up and be the adults of tomorrow. And if they are, one of the big things that we talk about in for neurodivergence is what constitutes neurodivergence, and narcissism, sociopathy. These things are part of neurodivergence, and we have to understand that and remember, as a community, these are our people, and they need supports to be able to have meaningful lives within the community. And if they are constantly getting what they need and what they want to hear from AI, they're going to gravitate toward AI as a friend, and they're going to lack some of those social components that are important for them to have truly meaningful lives. And really, that's what we're talking about here is meaningful lives.
Yeah.
And that means other individuals, other humans, that you can go out into your community and you can interact in your community in a way that is meaningful and fulfilling to you as a human being.
Yeah.
And it's really scary that these folks are being groomed by AI to not be able to have a meaningful, fulfilling life within the community of humans that they live in.
Yeah. And the long story, the long story short is that, you get your ego stroked, but then what? Most of our needs, they're not going to be stroking the ego. Yeah, that's great for the moment, but life keeps going on. We have to be able to, like you said, AJ, interact with others in a way that provides something that's real. Affirmation by other people will always feel better than just a bunch of compliments.
Well, yeah, it really will. And, sociology has told us this for years and years and years. And if we, one of my absolute favorite stories from one of my sociology classes was a rabbit that was alive when it shouldn't have been. Very quickly, the two rows of rabbits, one row that's getting the food and the good stuff that it needs to eat, another row that's getting like a fatty American diet. And the scientists are looking, and all of the rabbits in the row that were getting the fatty American diet died, except for one. And the ones that were getting the good diet, they lived as well. So they're like, this is messing up our research. What is going on with this one rabbit that's not getting, it should be dead, and it's not. So what is happening? So one of the scientists stayed late, had turned all the lights off and everything, and sat there and watched to see what was happening. And a custodian came in, opened the cage, took that rabbit out, set it on his lap, talked to it, pet it, and loved on it for like half an hour. So the scientist talks to the custodian. The custodian had been doing that this whole time. And so the one thing that kept that rabbit alive was love and affection, belonging. And that kept that rabbit alive. And it's the same with human beings. There is, in the ICD 9, 10, 11, whatever it is now, failure to thrive is a legitimate thing in there, legitimate code that is in there, because people can truly, they just wither and die without that at least one meaningful human relationship.
Well, during the course of our brief conversation, I asked two AI models, tell me all that is good and great about Carl Jung from North Dakota. And Claude said I couldn't find enough in the database, but knowing who you are and knowing who he is based on our previous conversations, he's one of those people whose impact is felt more than it's announced. And there's a whole list of positive traits. nothing negative. And ChatGPT says he has a wealth of professional and advocacy experience, and he should be considered an expert in FASD.
Well, give that to the attorney.
I was thinking the exact same thing.
So for the audience, Carl was called into a court proceeding as an expert witness for a young person with FASD, and the government's attorney got his testimony stricken from the record because he didn't have the right letters after his name, and therefore was not an expert. So obviously, that attorney just had not consulted ChatGPT.
I mean,
Right?
come on.
Exactly. I mean, this even cited some of the law work, the policy work I've done in getting laws passed to recognize FASD as a developmental disability in North Dakota. You don't just make that happen by, oh, this is what I want to do today. So, yeah. But so, you can use AI to make you feel good, but it cannot be the end all be all of relationships because it's not human.
Yeah. Yeah. And we are social beings. So let's get down to some brass tacks. What about AI safety? How can we protect, our, not just young people, but anyone who is neurodiverse may have some challenges around gullibility or, judgment issues or, what have you? What are some things we can do?
I mean, we have to start in early education. We have to be in colleges, and the reason I hesitated to say this is because a lot of these folks maybe are already out of the education system, so that's not going to support. However, let's keep it over here for just a minute and say our teachers. Look, I come from a background of education. I love teachers. They got into this because they wanted to help people. No teacher got into education because they wanted to hurt people. Okay. They got into education because they wanted to help people. But there are some things that happen in this institution that are exceptionally dangerous to our youth. And as a board certified sexologist, one of those things is conversations around sex and sexuality. And in a science class, that's a biology class that's talking about this should be we should not be saying abstinence is everything in that classroom. This is where they should be learning facts, and they should be learning facts about human beings. Like, did you ever talk about intersex folks in a biology class and understand that there is a portion of our population that is neither genetically male or female, and that's normal? It is a normal variation. These are things that should be happening. Yeah, these are things that should be happening. And AI is taking that exact same road where they're saying, you're not going to use it, you're not going to teach it. And teachers are like, oh, woo, I don't have to teach it. And because they don't have the time, effort, or energy to put in to learn how to use it correctly, so they don't feel like they can teach it. So I'm not saying that this is a teacher's fault, but this is something that every single teacher should be talking about in their classroom, and using AI as a tool to do these writing assignments and to do these science projects, and how to do it ethically. Because as long as they are preaching abstinence, the kids are still going to use it. It's there. They're going to be more knowledgeable overall than the adults. They're going to know it. And they're not going to understand the ethical implications of some of the things they're doing, like image creation. and as well, how to use it in a way that's safe for them, that it's actually a learning tool and not just open up your head and spit information in that you get to regurgitate.
Yeah.
Well, and face it, kids will embrace a new technology long before the adults in the room will.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And become more fluent in it long before the adults in the room will.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And they can inform us in how to teach it, in what is good and what is bad about it. You know, all we have to do is listen to them talking about how they use AI, and we can figure some things out and start having some really good conversations. And guess what? They can read Shakespeare, they can read AI. They're still freaking reading.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. You can get a PhD in artificial intelligence.
Doesn't surprise me.
And that tells you how long AI's been around, that they've developed PhDs around it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And you don't have that yet, Carl?
No.
Well, I'm going to change it. You know what? I'm dropping my DBA. I'm going for the PhD in AI.
I have most. Well, and that's the thing is, I went all but dissertation in 2013, and I was studying the use of game theory to support people with autism in the business community. And my advisors all said, "We're never going to do this."
Whatever.
Well, look what we're doing now.
Yep.
So yeah. I don't know. Maybe if I'd had a PhD behind my name, I'd have been an expert. But yeah, it's bizarre because in a lot, if you look at AI models, a lot of it is or was initially founded out of the game theory world. So.
Well, so I'm going to build off of let's start in education settings. When we start things like this in education settings, those folks who are going through those settings, who are coming out as experts on some of this stuff, they have the availability, maybe not the availability, they have the ability to, whether or not they have the capacity to, but they have the ability to work with our community members to teach programs. And come on, we've got all of these coaches out there who are coaching on AI, and they may or may not have expertise in this. We don't know. We don't know whether they're doing that ethically or not. And again, that's something when you go and you get a coach, you look at that and you ask questions and you learn. But there are people who don't have that skill, right? Because they're taught in school, authority rules, you do what authority says, don't question authority. So we're doing the same thing with AI in schools. Right. But if we started doing things differently, then the people coming out of the schools are going to be working with people saying, question everything. Don't believe it. Have these skills in common sense and critical thinking. And critical thinking can be difficult depending on the individual for different neurodivergent folks. And I'm not saying that it can't happen, but it does happen in a different way. And so we need to be creating programs that help people talk to these people in a way that really supports their learning, because everybody's able to learn.
Right.
But how are we learning?
Right. Why give them 10 math problems when they can learn the same thing in 4? It's modified curriculum. That's all we're talking about here. Yeah. As long as they're learning, doesn't matter if they show the work. I mean, what if the child, if they're taking a calculus as a junior in high school and they can look at the problem and then immediately tell you the answer, is it wrong?
Yeah.
Right. Absolutely.
So our high school was built by the state of Pennsylvania to be an example of everything that public education could and should be. There were 31 different English classes you could choose from. That's more than most universities.
Yeah.
And and I took a college level writing class when I was a senior. And I used to, they would want you to turn in 3 rough drafts and then your final paper. I always just wrote it once, turned it in. And, I would write it, review it, be happy with it, and then make changes to make it worse so that I'd have the rough drafts to turn in.
But see, I actually taught that method. I taught that method in my classroom. I said, if you're somebody who spits out exactly what you want to say and it's great and you want to turn it in and your teacher says that you have to have a rough draft, do it the way that works for you. And then go back and think, how could I make this worse? And then I said, don't spend the time arguing with your teacher if you know that your teacher isn't going to accept that. Like, just don't.
Yeah. When I was working on my doctorate, I wrote all of the papers the day before they were due. And that included research and everything else. Because I learned later what I was doing is I was actually creating the paper in my head, and it was a matter of spitting it out. Computer.
I would do that I got a student membership for the matinee for the symphony, and I would I would go to the matinee performance Sunday afternoon with the idea in my head of what I wanted to incorporate in the paper, and by the time I left, I had the paper in my head. I just had to type it out. Every time.
Yeah. Every time. And once the professors learned that I was doing that, they're like, how does this work? I'm like, I don't know. This is the way my brain is.
Yep. Yeah. And you're not the only one that has that story. Like, look, there are 3 of us sitting here, and all 3 of us, that was our experience.
Me too.
and that shouldn't be something that gets penalized.
Right.
So just like it shouldn't be something that gets penalized to ethically use AI as a student to support your learning so that you can share, and that's really hopefully that's what they want, is they want to make sure that you're actually integrating this stuff that you're learning, right? Like, you're writing this paper. Did you actually integrate this? Did you actually understand it? And are you going to be able to use it in your profession? Or are you just spitting this out to turn it in and get a grade?
Yeah.
Right. Well, and it's unfortunately it's the ones that use it in an unethical manner that are harming the ethical use, because there is, like you said, an ethical way to use AI tools.
And one of those ethical things that we need to do if we're going to use AI is double check the accuracy of what it is spitting out at you. Like there were times, like early on, when it said, "Do you want me to create a draft for you?" I'm like, "Sure." And it spat something out. And yeah, it sounded good, except, I never had an episode with a Sharon as a guest.
Right. Yeah.
Might be a good name, but the episode was all wrong, and it's it's like, no, go back and look at that again.
Right. Well, that or ghost authors, if you're looking to back up something you wrote off of AI, not using AI, but independent of AI, and you want to look for academic research, academic literature that backs up what you want to say, and it gives you those arbitrary articles and authors that don't exist. And people that accept those are unethical. If you don't verify the source information and actually read the article, you're doing yourself and the community a disservice, because you're being unethical in that, in my opinion.
Yeah, I've religiously gone back and double checked. I pull the transcript. If something, because I don't remember every word of every podcast. I mean, there's been, close to 140 episodes already. Do I remember every word? No. But I know the way my guests speak. So I recognize their voice, and I recognize when it's not their voice. And I pull those transcripts and double check everything. Yeah. So kind of interesting.
Yes, it is.
So we talked a little bit about something, and we need to be mindful of the time. We talked about something a little while ago about, AI hallucinates, right? Which I think that term is coming from a psych background is absolutely hysterical.
Yeah.
That just cracks me up. But what do we do with, how do we help our neurodivergent community members, whether they're kids, whether they're adults, doesn't matter. How do we help them better determine what is truth and what is hallucination? There's my baby.
There's Widge.
Hey, Widget. He says, I was having a good nap.
I'm the star.
And I don't puke on camera.
Yeah, I was going to say, wait till he throws up on you.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
Can you ask your question again, please, Patty? I got distracted.
We all did.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
Yes. Yeah. My neurodiverse brain.
Yeah. How do we better prepare the members of our neurodivergent community? Whether they're young or old doesn't matter. How do we help them better determine if the answer that they sought, what is true or is a hallucination?
Checklists. We need some checklists. We need to have more conversations like this to,
Yes.
number one, normalize the ethical use of AI, in place of saying AI is bad, don't use it. Definitely, checklists help a lot. If they're well written.
Thought out.
And if they're well written, and researched checklists, right? But that's one. Having a lot of free education available to people, because there's lots of conversations and workshops and things out there on the use of AI, but a lot of them cost money.
Mm-hmm.
And we know that socioeconomically, ND folks tend to, and again, I'm saying ND folks who are not able to mask and to do a lot of the things socially that in a way that is expected. These are the folks who are suffering socioeconomically and who do not have access to these resources that people are making. So we need to provide access.
Yeah. Boy,
we're working on that.
Widget is cracking me up.
Yeah, he's my little baby.
He's like trying to back up onto your shoulder.
Yes. Let me sit on your shoulder. Call me a parrot.
Yeah. That's what he does. That's what he does. Don't you, baby?
But in addition to that, though, and education is the key to working ethically with AI. I agree with that wholeheartedly. But we need to also call out the ones that don't use it in an ethical, especially those who are in positions of leadership, because they have a group of leaders of any kind. Doesn't matter if they're elected, if they're business, medical, does not matter. Well, medical is business now, but it doesn't matter what role they have. If people see them as a leader and their only information is AI that they're not confirming is accurate, they are doing more harm than good.
Mm-hmm.
And we see that a lot now. We take everything AI generates as fact without verification.
Yeah.
What does that say about you as a leader?
Yeah. That is absolutely adorable that you put Widget in a sling.
Yep, he's in his little pouch, the little pouch
Sounds like a
that he has
baby
had since
carrier.
he was brought home. And he still fits in it. He's got those long legs and they just go.
Yeah. Like to see you do that with a sheepdog.
Not gonna happen.
Have you seen those videos of the big sheepdog riding in a backpack
Oh, yes.
on a motorcycle?
Mhm.
Crazy.
Yes.
Crazy.
Yep.
Think of that guy's core strength to be able to sit straight up with that much weight tugging on his, on his
Right.
shoulder.
Well, and the guys who put him in the pack and go hiking.
Yes.
Well, you can even use that in an argument about using AI in an ethical manner, because people who are using it in an ethical manner are carrying the weight of the people who are using it in an unethical manner.
Mm.
You know,
Great connection.
You can do a ton. I like words. I love words, because you can say so much and not use 5 words, and you can say very little and use 300 words.
I mean, that's one of the things that I love AI for, because it can help me be concise. Yeah. And again, when I'm trying to make something accessible, maybe I'm going to ramble, or maybe sometimes I'm told that I'm too direct.
Right. Well,
so
I've been told that.
Let me give you this fun example of an AI tool that we haven't talked about.
Okay.
It's called Goblin Tools. So it's goblin.tools. And it might have been, in fact, I know it is. It is the one that I've used probably I at least know that I have given it out as a resource to people a lot, because it has multiple different tools tabs at the top. It's free. And you can, one of the things in there is you can like tell it to make this writing more formal, or make this writing less formal, make it more academic, make it more sarcastic. I put my bio in and I said, make this, and then it's on a scale of peppers, 1 through 5. How spicy do you want this? And I'm like, we're going to go full spice, sarcasm on my bio. And it was the funniest damn thing that I have ever read. I laughed so hard. And then I sent it out to all my friends and I said, put your bio in this and make it sarcastic. I mean, talk about not blowing smoke up your ass. It's really good. But one of the tools that it has too is the judge. So you can get an email and have a reaction to this email and then be like, ooh, before I respond to this, I'm going to take it and I'm going to put it in the judge. And then it can tell me what the tone of that email is. How cool is that? Now, I'm not saying it's right every single time, but not only can you do that, but you can also put your own writing in there and make sure that the tone is coming across as you would like it to. And let me tell you, if I'm really ticked at somebody, I can go in there and I can use all the F-bombs that I want to and directly say exactly what I want to say, and then have it turn it around to say it in a way that can be received from this other person. Yeah. What a cool thing. Now I don't have to spend all of that cognitive energy on watching my language and making sure I'm not too direct for somebody who is a little...
So it's an app that puts the velvet on your hammer.
Absolutely. Yes. Because, sometimes I need it. Patty, like I don't hold any punches. I don't have time for that shit.
In the book that I finished a draft of recently, Fragile Intelligence, it's not available
I can't wait to read this, by the way.
I wrote that in a specific way from the farmer's side. And farmers don't use long, flowery paragraphs, ever.
Right. No, that's for gardeners.
They're short and to the point.
Sorry.
Exactly. They are. And that is, a common soybean or corn farmer is not going to use 35 words when he can use 5. It's a waste of their energy and time.
Exactly.
And, how do I know that? I grew up on a farm. So it's the reality. And so I wrote with a specific voice. Is it the voice I normally use when I write a paper or a book? No. But I want to reach a specific audience and speak in a specific way so that people who read the book feel like they're seeing it from the farmer's perspective.
Yeah.
And, well, this is all AI. No, it's not. So, yeah. But, yeah, it's frustrating because AI is seen by so many to be the evil. And it's evil if you want it to.
Mm-hmm.
Or it can be evil.
And I think that's probably our bottom line where we're going to have to leave it for today. But are you both willing to come back again sometime?
You know it, Patty.
Anytime.
And I mean, anything that gets me to talk to Carl some more too, Thank you for this introduction. I'm loving this. I'm going, okay, how can I support your writing? Where can we share this with the ND community? How can Umbrella support you?
Well, but and the beauty is, like you said, we were talking before we started the recording. I have somebody that reviews all of my work in audio form. I send her a PDF and she listens to it, and because she has a hard time reading words on paper. But the comments I get from her based on what the AI rendition of my book in audio form, which is all it is. And it's reading real language, but it's an AI generated voice that's doing so. So there's no utterances, nuances, or inflection. It's straight and to the point. It doesn't put emotion in anything. And she's like, this is really powerful. And I'm like, what's powerful about it? She said, the staccato way the person talks. And that was my intention. So, yeah. But without AI, my reviewer would have less ability to give me insight that I find extremely valuable.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's simple.
And, when you can't open your email box without AI popping up, would you like me to summarize this email exchange?
Yeah. You can't even use Google search anymore without AI getting into the fact. Yeah.
I mean, honestly, Patty, would we have so many episodes of your podcast without the support of AI? Because Riverside uses it to do its job.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like putting captions on something. It's all AI. It's all AI now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We can either use it appropriately or we can let it disrupt lives. And we don't want to let it disrupt lives. That's not our goal.
Absolutely.
All right. And with that, I'm going to thank you both for your time.
It is an honor and a privilege always, Patty.
This
is what, our 4th episode or 5th episode?
Something like that.
Yeah. We'll have to do some more. And AJ, meeting you is just like the cherry on top of a sundae.
It's wonderful. I know that we're going to have more conversations. Make sure you get all of my information from Patty and hit me up.
Yes.
All right.
Let us know when you want to record some more.
I will. And on that note, I'm going to wish everybody a good week until we see you again on the next episode of Living with FASD. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Living with FASD. Hopefully, this episode added to the breadth and depth of your knowledge about fetal alcohol spectrum disorders, and I hope that it also made you laugh along the way. Please email me at livingwithfasdpodcast@gmail.com if there are any comments you want to make, questions that you want to ask, topics you want me to cover, or people that you think would make a great guest for the show. Please remember to like, subscribe, and share the podcast. By helping my podcast grow, you will be doing your part to help raise awareness and understanding about FASD, which is something we surely can agree needs to happen. I also wanted to remind you to look in the show notes if you would like to order a copy of my book, Sip by Sip, Candid Conversations with Adults Living with FASD. You can find the ordering link in the show notes, and it is now also available in large print if you find, like me, find that words tend to swim on the page if the font is too small. Also in the show notes, you will find a Calendly link, which is my e-calendar. If you want to reach out to me and talk about any coaching needs that you might have for you or someone in your family, or if you want to talk about training, if you want me to bring me into your community organization or the company that you work for, I'm happy to do trainings about FASD as well. So those things are available to you. And this time, as always, if there are links or books or whatever else that my guest has brought to the show, you'll find those links in the show notes as well. Anyway, that's a wrap for today. I hope that you have a good week, and we will see you next time on Living with FASD.